Okay, we're talking about the cage system and minor chords now as well. Okay, so we've played our C major, A major, G, E, and D major. Now let's do the same thing with the minor chords. But before we do that, I want to show you something about why we learn the cage system and what the point of it is. Let's take all of those chords that you should know, those major chords that we played in the last bit. Now let's play them with our last fingers. So we played them with our top fingers here, so index, middle, ring. Now let's play them with pinky, ring, and middle. Why? Hold on, I'll show you. Okay, so we've got our C chord here. Now why would I play a C chord like that? Let me bring it in for you here. Oh God, here we go again. Okay, so why would I play a C chord like that? Well, if you've noticed, this little device here is the end of the guitar. And by fretting here or putting a capo on your guitar, you know, it means that I've shortened the length of the guitar. Now I can play my traditional C here. Right? Listen to that. Beautiful. Using the same fingering as we used down here, but that bit of the guitar is gone now. We've shortened it. What if you don't have a capo, or what if you're playing a song that requires you to move one of these chord shapes up? This is the beauty of the guitar right here, guys. You can't do this on any other instrument other than a stringed instrument, particularly the guitar. Now, if I play those fingerings with my last finger and use that as my capo, this is basically what a guitar is that your index finger works as your capo. So now we've got that chord again. And what I've done is I've just played the standard C chord voicing, as you can see, hopefully. But I've barred it at the end. So now I can move that C shape. So now right there, actually, if you want to, I'm playing an E flat. You could view it as a D sharp if you want. A D now. D flat, C sharp, C. And if I slide down any further, I'm going to run out of the required notes I need to make that C chord in that shape. Okay? So that's where being able to play that with your bottom three fingers is useful. And guess what? That philosophy works for all of our chords. So let's take our A chord here. If we play it with our last fingers and leave that free, guess what that allows us to do? Shift it up, bar. Now I'm playing a B flat. Now I've got an A, B flat. What do I got now? B, C. Okay, just a different way to play a C. It's using the A shape, but it's movable. C sharp, D. Sorry, I'm a little horribly out of tune at this stage. But the point being is that philosophy works for all of them. So I've shown you the C. I've shown you the A. So why don't I try and show you with the G, the E and the D as well. Okay, so I'm gonna try. Let me just. Okay, that's a little bit better in tune. Let's try. Okay, so we've got our E shape now. Like I said, we don't play them with the top fingers. We play them with the bottom fingers, and then that means that we can move our E shape now. So everybody recognize that as our E shape. But now watch. I'm gonna shift it up and bar. Now I've got an F. F sharp, G, G sharp, A, etc., 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 etc. The beauty of the guitar is once you learn one shape, the minute you learn how to bar that shape, it's movable across the fretboard. And when I say that's the beauty of the guitar, that really is the beauty of the guitar. You learn one shape for a chord, and that is movable. But the other beauty of the guitar is that, like for instance on the keyboard, if you learn to play an A major, there's like one way to play that A major grouping of notes. Whereas on the guitar you can, I shouldn't say on the keyboard there's only one way to play an A major. That's actually not correct. But what I'm saying is there's so many more readily available variations of those chords available to the guitar player who wants to figure them out. Okay, that's the caveat. Okay, so E, we got to E. It's a movable shape. It's an F, it's a G, that's a C sharp, it's a D, it's whatever we want it to be, right? Next, we got our, sorry, I missed out a chord, I think. I missed out our G. So let's go back to G. So G is a hard one. I will not lie to you, especially for beginner guitar players. As a movable shape, the G is not the greatest. And the beauty of recognizing that it's not the greatest is that you've got options. So we could use the E shape and bar it if we wanted to play a different G shape. But let's move this shape. So if we move that up, means we have to bar back here. So we've got a G sharp, we've got an A, and all we're doing, if you can see, I'll try and show you here, is that I'm playing a G shape. So if I slide back down here, I'm playing a G with my bottom 3 fingers, but I'm moving it up, and then I'm barring back here. You might have to adjust your finger, make sure everything sounds out quite cleanly. Okay, so that sounds all right, doesn't it? Other than being slightly out of tune, we got a movable shape. It becomes a lot more usable up here as a voicing. That's a more beautiful voicing, I think. Down there, I would explore other options, but as we come up here, that G shape becomes a little bit more beautiful sounding, and I would say we save it for the upper reaches of the neck. So, sorry, I went back to G. We've done E already. Now we've got D. So, again, same rule applies. We don't play our D with our first 3 fingers. We play it with our last 3 fingers, and also, we're only strumming the bottom 4 strings because the D only contain, this particular shape is only relevant to play the bottom 4 strings. So let's move that shape up and bar, and we've got a D sharp or an E flat. There's our E again. What's cool about this movable shape here is that, watch my index finger over here. If I get a little bit cheeky and bar that B note here on the A string on the 2nd fret, watch this, I'm going to strum the whole guitar. That's a huge a huge E chord. Still in E, still playing E major, but because we've used that movable D shape, we've reinforced the shape with the open E there, and it sounds quite full. And then we move up again, we can't do that trick anymore because E isn't involved in that chord, which was an F. Now we're talking about F sharp, we're up to G. So isn't it cool that that's a G in a D shape, that's a G in an E shape, that's a G in a G shape. Every one of these chords can be played in the respective shape. This is a G in a C shape, right? And then we've done, so C, oh, and a G in an A shape would be up here. This is where I would use sort of, this is called like rock kind of, it almost looks like I'm playing a power chord. I am actually playing a 1, 5, 1, 3. So I am playing a triad, but I'm not letting that what would be the 5 of the chord, which is a D and G. I'm not letting that ring through. So you get this sort of tonality, which is fine for me. That's good. If you wanted to get fancy, or make sure that your fingering was neat and tidy, you could get that to ring out and get that 5 to ring out, but to me it's not essential information. And generally speaking, a 5 in a chord, when we talk about the 5th degree of a chord, is not essential information. You can actually get rid of it. You could replace it with something else or not play it at all, and the chord would still have the same flavor. I realize that's a little bit complex. Okay, so the idea that what we're doing here is we're moving basic chords. Now that we've moved the chords, your work's not done yet. You thought it was over, but check this out now. We've got to play those same chords in their minor shape. Okay, so I'm gonna blast through this really, really quick, and what I want you to understand is, if anything's going too quick, quick look it up on the internet. You should be able to find your answers. So C minor, okay, that's a barred chord. That's a C minor, and that is an A minor. So if I take that C minor shape, talking about cage, C-A-G-E-D, if I move that up here and bar, I've got my C minor. So there's our C minor, which is our same as our A minor, except for the A minor is not barred because we don't need to, because the nut of the guitar is already doing the job. Okay, so we've got C minor, A minor, G minor. This is an interesting chord for beginners. It's going to require some strength. This is what I call the chicken wing. If this starts to ache and get a little bit sore, probably you're doing it right. You're strengthening up the chicken wing, and that's where that pinch in the guitar becomes really helpful. You might see me playing an G minor chord like that. Do not do it like this, especially if you're a beginner. This is the idiot's way to play it, or the big floppy handed way to play it. Bit lazy. I would prefer to see everybody play like that. Get the pinch going, okay? This is where everything begins. The strength of the left hand begins with that pinch, and it's you're looking to strengthen the chicken wing, the drumstick rather. It's not a chicken wing, is it? It's a drumstick. Okay, so our G minor requires us to, now I don't want to see people fretting, don't have your finger hanging over the top. Bring it down so the tip of your finger is just reaching that with strength so that you can get a good pinch going on there. Okay, then we've got these two fingers here at the very end. What we're going to do is get our pinky on the D string at the 5th fret. This is for a G minor. Then we're going to get a ring finger on the A string at the 5th fret, and our chord should sound like this. So that's what it should sound like. And if I can just let you look in here, that is fretting the top E, and then if I can squeeze in here, those 3 notes at the bottom are all barred by the index finger, and then these two are both on the A and the D string respectively on the 5th fret. Okay, so those are G minor. I want you to play these particular shapes as well, because this is where you're going to start using your barring. After G minor, we have E minor. Well, watch this. If I take that G minor shape, unfret it, and just leave my pinky here, slide that down there, it's the same shape. It's the exact same shape. Most people would play it like that, or they might play it. I prefer to use the middle fingers, because what does that do? It allows me a little bit of freedom. If you use the top, you could actually get some chords going. In fact, because I do have slightly bigger fingers, I tend to play it like that, and so I can have a little bit of freedom to play melodies over that chord. Now, I don't recommend anybody really fret it that way. I would say use 2 fingers. Index finger possibly on the 2nd fret of the A string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and that will give you the E minor tonality. The reason why I was going to say that I use the 1 finger is that it's just so that I can have a little bit of a play and stretch some upper voicings into the chord as I see fit. So, different ways to do the same thing. Find your own way that works for you. It should be relatively pain-free. I mean, if it's just a case of getting sensitive skin used to pressing hard on steel, that's one thing. But if you're experiencing any joint pain, tendon, ligament pain, it's time to take a break. Time to adjust your the way you're sat, the way you're addressing the guitar, your physical stature is a big part of how you address it. So if you're a smaller person, then you might have to play in slightly different way. If you're a bigger person, you got bigger hands, you might find other certain things easier, but you find the way that works for you. But the notes are going to be the same. The notes are what we're after, an understanding of those. So if we can play through the movable shapes of the caged major chords, and then if we can learn how to play caged minor, the minor chords are less integral to your overall understanding of the fretboard, because as we move on to further, what you'll see is that the caged major systems shows you where all the minor shapes are as well. So the caged using the minor chords is really just to get you used to the fact that there are really I would say 3 types of chords. We've got major chords, minor chords, and dominant chords. Some people may say that there are other, there are bitonal chords that don't tell you one way or another, or they might say that there are diminished chords. Well, a diminished chord to me is part of the minor chord family. A bitonal chord that doesn't tell you this or that, it's like, okay, well, if there's one chord in a song, I might not know whether it's implying major or minor. But as soon as you bookend that chord in question with other chords, you dictate to the listener what the tonality of that chord is. So I hope this hasn't been too much, guys. This is just the intro, so you can realize how tough it is when I've got 15 people with different abilities trying to cover all the bases. So I'm trying to do it here in the video. If even this stuff is too much and you've got questions about it, email me, get in touch, and I'll do my best to point you in the right direction. Next, we're going to get busy with the modes, scales, and chords and whatnot. Okay?